when you've gone through a divorce or you've gone through a separation, one of the things that you really have to deal with is getting a balance between too few and too many people. Now let me explain what I mean. When you've gone through a hurt, sometimes you try and drown it out by a lot of friends. You just go out partying, you just go out to every social event, you just sort of try and get lost in the crowd. All right? Now that's social butterfly. Then some other people would go to too few friends. That means they'd only find people who were hurt like them and stay with them. You know, get 2 or 3 hurt people. And when you get 2 or 3 hurt people together, you got a hurting situation going on. You understand what I'm saying? That's a frightening thing. Now, that means you got too many or too few. You have to strike the balance. All right? Don't go around trying to drown your feelings in relationships. And don't try and hide within the hurts of others. You've got to get a balance where you set your priorities. Your priorities should not be trying to hide or get rid of your hurt, but your priority should be, how do I deal with this hurt? The first thing is I got to accept it. Let me go and find counsel with somebody with the wisdom of God who can help me identify what I'm feeling. That's important to make a note of. The first thing you should do is set a priority. I must find out what I'm going through. That's your priority. Because if you don't get that clear in your mind, you start making wrong decisions. So go get proper wisdom. Set your priorities. And let that counselor give you the priorities based on the Word of God for you to follow. And then you'll have something to live by until you get over the heartache. You know how to deal with it. That's what you call facing it. Then the fourth thing that people go through after divorce is what I call independence. Say it with me. Independence. Now, independence is when you get custody of yourself back again. Mostly when people go through divorces, they normally think of custody of the children, custody of the car, custody of the house. But let me tell you, the first thing you get custody of, before you get the children or the dog or the cat, is yourself. And the first thing you need to deal with is you. Now, what I want to share with this point is that most people get married in dependence. All right, I'll repeat it. Most people get married in dependence. That means they get married because they depend on the person. They are not independent before they get married. So they got married with the attitude of depending on a person. Those kinds of people really go through trouble if they're ever separated. Because now, for the first time in their lives, after years of dependency, declaration of dependence has been given to them. They didn't declare it, it's been given to them. You've got to now pay your own bills. You've got to now worry about the children by yourself. You've got to now take care of the rent by yourself. You've got to now plan which way to go to work, which route to take by yourself. And honey, that ain't no piece of cake. Independence is a serious experience for separation. You know what it is to be with somebody for 20 years? And you always knew where everything was going to be taken care of because they always took care of things. And all of a sudden, ain't taking care of it no more. Now you got to build your own house. You got to pay for your own car. You got to buy your own clothes. You got to brush your teeth. With your own toothpaste, too. Independence is a reality. It's an experience you got to go through when you talk about separation. All right? So these are things that people go through. These are stages. Withdrawal, they become a social butterfly, which is reverse to withdrawal, or they cannot find a balance between too many friends and too little of the wrong friends. Or they have to experience this awesome independence all of a sudden. Now, I'll tell you something about this independence. It's a dangerous one, too. Because later on, we're going to learn that if you develop independence to the point where you isolate other people, you could become a problem. You can become so independent that you violate the very foundation of God, which says you need other people. There are people who have become so independent after their divorce or separation that it's almost impossible for them mentally to imagine themselves now getting involved close with anybody else. I'm going to share with you that may not be God's answer for you. All right? And we're not talking about going back into another marriage or anything. The possibility is there. But this independence has to be realized in a context. And the context is, before you get married, become independent. Why? Because you might need it again. All right? If you ain't stable before you went in, honey, when that thing falls apart, you're going to become unstable twice. And that leads to dementation, which is a big word for going crazy. All right? So, independence. You get custody of yourself after divorce and separation. You finally got to do it all by yourself. And that's not easy. It's a traumatic experience. Now, let me deal with this last section, and we're going to go on next week. But I want to ask you a question now. Where are you? No, that's not the section. It's post-separation stages. I want to deal with this tonight. Post-separation stages. Now, there are a number of these we need to finish tonight. And I'm afraid to start the others because they get a little bit technical. They get a little involved. But I'm going to go ahead and do it. Someone say good. I'm going to finish it, all right? The fifth level that people go through, and this one is very strange. When you go through a divorce or separation, or someone jilts you, right? And you really hurt. The emotional hurt is tremendous. The psychological scar is very, very dangerous. And of course, physically, you feel it as well. You go through a stage I want to call, where are you and who needs you? And this is called mixed feelings. If you've ever gone through a divorce, or you've gone through a separation, you've gone through this period. This is probably the most difficult period you have ever gone through. This stage right here is one of the most difficult. Now, I want you to read that out loud for me and see if you could figure out what that's saying. Let's go. Ready? Go. Where are you? Who needs you? That makes sense? No, it doesn't make any sense, does it? This is the stage you go through after separation where you emotionally miss the person. And you begin to long for them. Now, I know you've gone through this. You almost want to see them. You wonder why they left and why did you leave me like this? And you go through this thing. And then all of a sudden your moods change. Who needs you anyhow? You know what I'm saying? You've been through that. Just, why did this person leave? I don't need him anyhow. And then a few minutes later, gosh, I missed that fool. And then next minute say, where is that fella? And you say, who need him anyhow? And guys go through it too. Everybody goes through it. That woman, boy, I really missed that woman. I don't need her anyhow. It's what you call, come here, stay away. It's what you call, I need you. Who needs you? It's the mixed feelings you go through. Now, what causes the mixed feelings? It is the fear of failure. Now, let me explain what I mean. This doesn't only happen with the person who you were married to or related with in a relationship, but this happens to anybody else who attempts to come into another relationship. People who've been divorced, and they've been married for a long time before that, they've gotten a divorce. One of the things that they experience traumatically is difficulty in developing close relationships with other people after that. It becomes a real problem. And the reason is because they're afraid to fail again. And so, even though they really want to have a close relationship, when the person gets too close, they push them off. All right? Then when the person starts going away, they pull them back. All right? And the person gets really close, they push them off again. And after a while, the person begins to ask some questions. What do you want? Huh? That's right, sweetheart. That's a married person laughing there. Now, we're going to share with you next week that this mixture of feeling is a result of the trauma. And what it is, it's the confusion of companionship versus marriage. This is an important statement I just made. People want companions, but they don't want no marriage. The need for companionship is in everybody. So even though you've been hurt and you've really been torn and your heart's been broken, you're sitting there going, I don't need nobody. Where is he?